Hey guys, Dr. Kyle Lovelace here. Today I want to talk to you about sunscreen. Sunscreen is a big topic, especially as it comes into the spring, summertime, and we're looking to get out in the sun, enjoy the day, and all those things. And the sun is very crucial for our health. And so when we block it, a lot of problems come. But it's not just that we're blocking the sun, it's how we're blocking the sun and what that impact it has on our overall health. We know that our skin is one of the most absorbent parts of our body. So what we put on it really, really does matter. And we can also look at this and say, all right, when it comes to sunscreen, have we reduced the rates of skin cancer or have they gone up? And so if sunscreen prevented skin cancer, clearly everybody uses sunscreen at this point, or a good amount of people, we would see those rates go down, and that just hasn't happened. So there's more to the skin cancer story than the sunscreen. Definitely so. And I won't go too much into that today, but what I am gonna teach you is what to change when it comes to sunscreen and how to make sure that you're not getting burnt, but at the same time, you're not actually causing cancer by putting sunscreen on your skin. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like. Make sure, and if you like the content that we're bringing you, because we're gonna continue to add more information, more things that can help teach you to become your own health expert. Make sure you go and watch or listen to our podcast as well. Some of these are on the YouTube channel, but also on your regular podcast channels. It's called Owning Your Health with myself and Dr. Holly, my wife. I think you'll like it a lot. We've got a lot of good feedback on that. So, all right, so we're gonna dive into it. All right, guys, let's talk about sunscreen. Sunscreen has been a topic I've been preaching about for a long time. It doesn't make sense to me. And I when it comes to health, first I'm gonna start out with just my philosophy in this idea, but then I'll talk about the science and why I can back it up with that as well. But my philosophy is this, is that I think God put certain things on this planet for our benefit. And I don't think he put a lot on here for the lack of our benefit, meaning everything tends to be pretty good for us on this planet for us to be around, not necessarily to eat, but just for us to be around unless man comes in and alters it, right? Like there's certain things like that are good for us, and then when man comes and alters it, they become bad for us. And that's genetically modified food's a great example of this. But the sun, the sun feeds the earth. And so there's so much science behind how beneficial the sun is for mankind, right? We know that if you're inside for long periods of time, or if you live in areas where there's very little sun, you start to become depressed. The sun benefits us in ways of our hormone health, in ways of things like vitamin D health, our immune system health, just the overall feeling of goodness and how well at a cellular level, how healthy the body can be. So the sun is very, very important. And so if that's still like well, I'm not sure, I've been told it's bad for me, do your own research. The sun is actually very, very beneficial. And I actually recommend patients get out in the sun every day and even look up to it. Maybe not stare directly at it, but look up to it to where your pineal gland's being directed by the sun, to where your body can feel the sunlight on your skin. And it's really effective in not only for absorbing vitamin D, but for the production of melanin and other things in our body that are very effective. And when it comes to the idea of causing skin cancer, it doesn't just philosophically, it just doesn't make sense, right? Skin cancer, like crazy amounts of skin cancer killing people, is not an old thing. It's a newer concept that we're dealing with. And I just don't believe that, everybody in our world today is walking around with bad spots on their skin that need to be cut off of them. And so, if all that was the answer to skin cancer, then we wouldn't see skin cancer like crazy because everybody does it. So, it's just critically thinking doesn't make sense to me. And so I love getting out in the sun. And when I do that, I try to go without a shirt on. I try to go out there and actually absorb as much sun as I can. And then, of course, I don't want to get my skin burnt because that's not fun. So if I hadn't been in the sun a long time, I'm going to do it for a short period of time. Then I'm going to put a shirt back on, right? And then over time, I'm going to build up that melanin, build up that color in my skin to where I can handle more of that sun time. And they've actually had studies on this to show that sunglasses, believe it or not, can actually decrease your body's ability to absorb the sun and how you feel. And sunglasses, actually, I take that back. Sunglasses can actually create a more absorption of sun because our eyes start to tell our body to produce things that help control the amount of sun that our body absorbs so we don't get burnt. So you actually have an increased chance of getting burnt with sunglasses, with polarized sunglasses. Again, when a man alters it, this happens. And so I'm a big fan of sunglasses. That's not what I'm trying to say, but that's just a thought. Now, when it comes to, I'm not going to dive into skin cancer. I'm going to talk about the products. So when it comes to sunscreen, first is if you never go out in the sun without sunscreen, you're not absorbing vitamin D from the sun. that's not cool. I mean, that's like, it's just not good for you. I think we can logically say that. So at least at a minimum, get outside with nothing on, no organic sunscreen, nothing on for a period of time based on your skin ability to handle it, right? So we have a daughter with Down syndrome, Isabel. She's 3 years old. She has very thin skin, very light skin. She gets burned so easily that I'm not going to send her outside as long as my other daughter, Eleanor, has darker skin. She tans really well. She could go 30 minutes, possibly even 45 minutes on the sun with nothing on and do great. Myself, 35, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, and not get sunburned, depending on how adapted my body is at that point. But then I'm gonna put a shirt on, or if I want sunscreen, I put sunscreen on, but it's gonna be organic and it's gonna be without the chemicals. So I'm just gonna read to you the bad, and then I'm gonna tell you the good on what to do instead. So this is from the EWGs, and that is, I always forget what they're, I think Environmental Working Group, I think is the name of it. But you can go to ewg.org and read about sunscreen, and it says here, in 2019, when the Federal Food and Drug Administration, does anybody ever think it's funny that the Food and Drug Administration are in the same agency? So our food makes us sick and our drugs, well, they make us sicker, but at least people buy them. The agency that governs sunscreen safety proposed its most recent update to sunscreen regulation and found that only two ingredients, zinc oxide and titanium oxide, could be classified as safe and effective. I would say stay away from titanium dioxide because it definitely has some carcinogenic effects as well, but only two. When you get home today, look at your ingredients on your sunscreen. There is a lot of synthetic chemicals in that sunscreen that are not zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. So two ingredients, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. I would say stay away from the titanium dioxide personally. It says here, but in the past year, numerous new studies have raised new concerns about endocrine disrupting effects from 3 other ingredients. Endocrine disrupting effects. Guys, look at our world today. Everything that we're doing is screwing up our endocrine system. It's screwing up our hormones. We see women that can't reproduce. We see men that act like women, and it's because of estrogen, right? We have the fastest growing cancer in men right now is breast cancer, because of these endocrine disruptors, right? Things like birth control, it's an endocrine disruptor. But look at sunscreen. Everybody's been using it for years. We haven't had a decrease in skin cancer, a worthwhile decrease in skin cancer. I can't say we haven't because I don't actually know that, but I know it hadn't been very much. But we do have carcinogenic things happening here that are causing endocrine disrupting effects. It says these are homosalate, okay? Avobenzone and oxybenzone. These are things that we want to look at here. It says within the past year, the European Commission has published preliminary opinions on the safety of 3 organic UV filters, oxybenzone, homosalate, and octocrylene. It found that the levels of 2 of them were not safe in the amount at which they are currently used and proposed concentration limit of 2.2%. All right. This is the part that I don't understand. If something's not safe, why don't we just take it out? Why do we need to put a 2.2% limit? They do this with mercury. It's like, if we know mercury is bad for us, we know aluminum causes brain damage and all these cellular issues, why do we still put it in vaccines? It's just a question. I mean, I know, I understand why, but I'm not gonna tell you why. You think about that for a minute. Why is it in there? What benefit does that have for us for this concentration of 2.2%? For oxybenzone, it's 1.4% for homosalates, okay? The U.S. sunscreen manufacturers, because U.S. is always gonna add more, U.S. sunscreen manufacturers are legally allowed to use these 2 chemicals at concentrations up to 6 and 15%. Okay, they say 2.2% for one and 1.4% is safe. We use them at 6 and 15%. That is multiple times the amount, respectively, and hundreds of sunscreen manufactured in the US use them at concentrations far exceeding the European Commission's recommendations. The ingredients, oxybenzone, I'm glad I'm not an organic chemistry professor because I would fail. Although I loved organic chemistry, these words always get me. So you can read the article, but according to the studies published by the FDA, which also found that they could be detected on the skin and in the blood weeks after no longer being used. Previous studies detected many sunscreen ingredients in breast milk, in urine samples, In addition, it's possible for sunscreen users to inhale ingredients. Of course it is. Aerosol sprays. Drives me crazy when we go to the pool and you're sitting there trying to use your nice clean stuff and be all healthy, and then the pert lady next to you is dousing her kid in this toxic sunscreen is blowing in your face, or your kid's face. It's possible for sunscreen users. I think we should have some sunscreen manners, or what do they call that? Like, here's how to use sunscreen properly. Etiquette. We need sunscreen etiquette in our world today. Nothing worse than getting sprayed by somebody else's sunscreen. Previous studies detect that many sunscreen ingredients in breast milk, I already said that, ingredients in sunscreen sprays and ingestion, some of the ingredients they apply to their lips, so the ingredients must not be harmful to lungs or internal organs. All right, guys, I'm not gonna read the whole article on that, but you can go to ewg.org and look up sunscreen. It continues on for a lot of things. And again, going back to the philosophical standpoint of it, is realizing that we don't need to block the sun. If you're coming to a point where you're gonna get sunburned, put on a shirt. If you wanna stay without a shirt, use zinc oxide. Right? I know it's a little bit wider and things like that, but use zinc oxide. It's shown to be less toxic. They say titanium oxide is okay too, but I would say just zinc oxide. It's less toxic. But look at this, you go out in the water and you look at our coral reefs and all these other things that are being damaged by sunscreen. Here's the hard part. You do everything right and then you go jump in the county pool or whatever, and your neighborhood pool, and everybody else has all this stuff on them. So it's tough. But my point is that let's not put this on our kids. Hey, if you're a breastfeeding mom, definitely don't put it on you, because that absorbs into the breast milk, into the body, and we find it in the breast milk. So let's look at our sunscreen, take a step back, logically think, okay, sun, good. A certain amount of it on me, good. Do I want to blister and burn? No. I'm going to put a shirt on, or I'm going to put some zinc oxide on, done. Other things that can be effective, coconut oil for some people shown to be effective. Hey, but stay away from the sunscreen. I hope this video today, going on this ewg.org and reading, gets you to say no more sunscreen. We knock out the sunscreen industry. We all go with zinc oxide, like back in the day when I was a kid and we'd do the big green lines on our face to go surfing. I hope we go back to those days, because those days were much cooler when you had the colorful pink face than it is now when everybody's getting things cut off of them because they thought they're preventing skin cancer from using sunscreen, when in fact it was the opposite. So, all right guys, sorry, I hope this was a fun video for you. Share this with others. They need to learn more about what not to put on their skin in the summertime. And yeah, I think we can help a lot of people by getting them to just stop sunscreen. You guys have an awesome day.